Coucou, peace, hello my loves, marhaba habibati. So this might be a long video. I'm assuming that it probably will be. So settle in, grab a cup of tea, make yourself a snack. Settle in. You ready when we're in yoga? See, I'm already getting rambling. It's a rambly video, it's a long video. If it's not your thing, I'll see you guys tomorrow. But if you like these rambly chatty videos, we're gonna have fun today. When I go to yin yoga, you hold the poses for 2 to 6 minutes. So she goes, I want you to settle in, just settle in, take a couple breaths. It takes 10 to 15 breaths to like just get into it. So I now use that kind of as a mantra when like I'm on a 13-hour flight or I have to go like to the hospital. I'm like, just settle in, just calm it down. So I want to talk to you guys a little bit about a health, weight loss, that kind of update. I've toyed back and forth about what exactly I want to include in this video and what is beyond the parameters of this video, and I keep going back and forth, so I'm just winging it. So by way, I guess, of introduction, if you haven't been watching my channel for that long or you missed these videos or whatever, I'll give just a little bit of a background on why we're here and why we're even talking about this. So in about July, I was getting really severe migraines almost every single day, basically every single day, and I ignored it and I ignored it, and I was like, it's fine, whatever, I'm busy, I have a thesis to write, I have stuff to do, I can't really deal with this right now. And then when I got back home in the early fall, I went for my normal eye exam and was sent the next day to the emergency eye clinic at the hospital because it turned out I had swelling on my optic nerve. So after lots of painful testing, this is the short Cliff Note version of the story, after lots of painful testing and stress, it turned out that I had increased intracranial pressure, which just meant that the fluid around my brain, there was more being produced than I actually needed, and it was causing tension on my optic nerve. It was pushing on my optic nerve, and so they worry about things. The migraines are obviously a big side effect, but they worry about things like long-term vision loss. So it was imperative that we get that under control. So there are 2 ways to do that. The first is weight loss, and the second is through medication. And so I was like, can we try the weight loss route first? Because the medication actually is really rough on the system. It causes nausea and tingling of the extremities and headaches, and you're like, aren't we trying to get away from that? So I was like, well, give me a chance, let me try the whole weight loss thing. So that brings us kind of to part 2. I feel like I'm in, you know, the movie Easy A with Emma Stone, where she like holds, and part 1 and part 2. I should have brought little flashcards. Which brings us to part 2 of the story, which is like my lifelong quest on this journey of weight loss and loving my body and figuring out healthy balance. I know that I'd put on weight while I was away, and actually putting on weight is one of the things that exacerbates this condition, that makes it worse, that speeds it up. And I knew that I had to kind of get myself back on track. That is something that I like have been telling myself though for a long time, and I kind of been putting it off because other things seem more important, right? And all of a sudden when you're faced with, you know, a bunch of trips to the ER and scary testing and things, you know, that worry you, you're like, okay, maybe I should stop putting this on the back burner. So I feel like I want to say long story short, but I don't even know where I am anymore. What I'm trying to say is that weight loss was something I knew I had to do, but it was something that scared me because it takes me to a dark place. So I did a whole video about kind of like finally accepting my body and loving myself and all that kind of good stuff. I will link that down below if you feel like hanging out with more chatty Sarah. I'll link that down below. But basically, since the age of 12, I've been dieting. At age 10 or 11, I weighed 200 pounds, and I am 5'9". So I'm tall, but at that young, you should not be wearing a size 14, 16 pant, like on average, right? So I was heavy and I had started losing weight, and the emphasis was always on losing the weight and how great I'd feel and how good it would be, and, you know, just this very kind of binary idea of it, and it was always on weight loss and dieting and what have you. So through a series of diets on and off and weight coming on and off, at my lowest I weighed 130, 132. And that was a combination of doing a high protein, almost no carb diet. And I was at the time in like a bunch of sports. So I ran cross country, I played field hockey, I did all kind of stuff. And while I felt great temporarily, my self-esteem was very low and very much tied to my weight, because as soon as some of that weight started creeping back in, and what I didn't know at the time, which I know now, is that my thyroid condition was starting to develop. And so despite working out with a personal trainer and running and dieting, the weight was steadily coming back. And so by the time I went away to college, I was back at like 170, 180. And despite being at the school of my dreams, despite doing really well in classes, I'm getting emotional. It's gonna be okay. I felt this small because of my weight. And it took me a long time to break that attitude and to realize that the body I am in, I should be thankful for, and I should love it, because it was the body that got me to all these achievements, that had me have all these adventures, and I needed to love my body. Because when I was in college, I would spend long nights crying, and then I would binge eat, and then I would be upset, and then I'd binge eat some more. It was not good. So I left college at 200 pounds. Between the thyroid condition and the binging, it all came to a head. And that's where we were. When I weighed myself at the, like in the emergency room the first time, I was at 248.6. So yeah, there was a span there of 4 years where I put on almost 50 pounds. And, it was weird because my self-esteem, was finally at one of its highest. I never felt that weight. And by felt that weight, I never felt, like, saying that number makes me think, how am I going to explain this? I'm not scared to tell you that number because I know how okay I was with the body I was, but for me to be in that mindset where I'm like, yeah, so what? I still think I look awesome. I still love myself. That was a big deal for me. So on one hand, it was good to have kind of moved slightly away from the negative body image. But on the other hand, I'm like, okay, but you spent all this time telling yourself that you don't care and love your body and whatever. But in reality, you weren't loving your body. You were just ignoring the dieting because you were scared that if you thought about, you know, balance and diet or losing weight at all, which your body needed just to feel more balanced again, it would take me to that sort of negative spiral. And throughout this whole process over these last 4 months almost, in which I have been paying attention to what I'm eating and working out, there's a part of me that, like, worries a little bit every time we get on the scale, tries not to set expectations too high, because I just don't want to get back onto that roller coaster where, like, I'm happy because I'm thin and I'm unhappy when I gain weight. Like, it's not good. So I decided, and what I keep reinforcing to myself is this time, yeah, sure, I want a number on the scale, just because the number on the scale helps the number on the machines for, you know, the pressure in my head. And two, because the thing that I love to do most in terms of physical activity is running, and I'm a long distance runner, and I know the weight that my body needs to be at so that I can train properly. So the number that I have that's around that 140, 150 mark, that is only there because that is the body that is the strongest for what I want out of it. If I don't get there, I'm gonna fine tune as I go. So if I don't get there, we'll fine tune as we go, and it's not about a number, it's about kind of a state of being. So yeah, that was a very long ramble, but I feel like we chat in these videos, we get a lot off our chest. So it's been a good balance for me now about realizing that it's about balance, it's about health, above all else. And for me, I've learned that it's a lifestyle change. It's not diets on and off. I have to change the way I live. So the gym can't be a means to an end. It can't be like, let's power work out with a trainer just to get through. I have to be active. I have to remind myself this has to be part of my day. So when I did that challenge that I told you guys about, that 30-day challenge, those aren't going to be it's not going to be a regular thing, but working out 3 to 5 times a week, that has to be something that continues on for a long time, you know? And in terms of food, it's about finding balance. So like when I was in London, for example, I went to afternoon tea. I had the occasional pasta. There are things that I don't want to deprive myself of. So, things in moderation, but in this period where the focus is weight loss, just to get the weight off that I need to get off for my health, it has to be a little bit more strict. So I'm going to talk to you guys about what it is that I am doing. So in the process of 3.5 months, I've lost 25 pounds, which is a crazy big number, and it's really exciting. So I think, I weighed myself this morning, I was at 223. It's exciting. It's exciting to be there. And we've got a long way to go. But the way that I got myself here is I was working out 7 days a week. I was doing a combination of spin, bar, yoga, and circuit training. So circuit training, like little stations where you do different weights and core exercises and that kind of stuff. So yeah, that was that 7 days a week. I've scaled it now down to 5 just because my body needs some days of rest. I've talked to a bunch of the trainers and they're like, you needed that push initially, but your body actually needs rest days in between. So I'm down to 5 days a week. And in terms of what I've been eating, I've been working with a nutritionist mainly. And what we found for my body, between the thyroid and between just the way that my body puts on and loses weight, I'm very sensitive to carbohydrates. So I leave my portion of carbohydrates in the morning, and then the rest of the day I focus on protein and vegetables, which can be tricky at times because of the whole vegetarian thing. But I've been enjoying it. So usually in the morning I'll have sort of 2 slices of toast or a wrap with some egg whites and veggies, and then I'll have usually 2 snacks throughout the day. So we'll do a veggie, a fruit, and a milk. So I'll have like a yogurt cup or some cheese, and then a fruit and some cut up vegetables usually. And then lunch and dinner are protein and like a salad or some veggies or whatever. And so my vegetarian proteins are lentils, beans, that kind of thing. Or, and Noelle's gonna yell at me if she's watching this video, I've really been enjoying eating protein bars or using a protein powder. I just find that it's effective as long as I'm not, like, it keeps me full. And for me, I fall off the wagon as soon as I get hungry. And I'm like, if I'm gonna eat for the sake of eating, just to be full, let's do a protein shake or powder. And they're vegetarian based. They're called Vega 1. And I have really been enjoying them. The other thing that I have been loving is tea. And so when before I started, sort of unconsciously, this package showed up at my door from Thin Tea. And it was before I got my diagnosis, before I was actually actively going to focus on losing weight. And so they sent me some tea. And I enjoy theirs, but I've also bought a bunch of tea from David's Tea. And I love having something in the morning. And something more sort of green, herbally, minty. And then in the evening, I found some sweet tea. So the banana nut bread tea from David's Tea feels like you're having banana bread. Sorry, it cut me off. I've been talking for too long. In those evenings when you sometimes want like a sweet treat and you're like, oh, I probably shouldn't. A nice sweet tea, and not like sweet because it's been sweetened, but sweet because of the ingredients in it, I feel like really cuts down that craving. So if you haven't tried the banana nut bread tea from David's Tea, and you can definitely give it a shot. But the Thin teas, they're supposed to be detoxifying and losing weight. I went through them and they were nice. I don't think they necessarily made me lose any more weight than other tea that I drank, but if you want to kind of start with a strong detox, you could start there. What they do have that I adore though is their steeper. I'll insert a picture of it. I actually give it to my sister. My sister drinks easily 4 to 5 mugs of tea a day. And she is very picky about the way that she steeps her tea. She used to get like these silk super specialty tea bags. And she tried like a bunch of different stuff. I'm like, just try this infuser. So we had 2 different infusers in the house. One from David's Tea, which she's like, nope, no, I do not like it. And then this one from Thin Tea, which she fell head over heels in love with. I like the one from David's Tea just fine. So I'm like, take the one from Thin Tea. I'll keep using the David's Tea one. But if you wanted to check anything out from their website, their steeper, I heard from the expert, is great. So kind of having those throughout the day gives me that little boost of sweetness or that little boost of energy. And it's not necessarily like that's what's kickstarting my weight loss, but it helps. And so every little tip helps. Getting enough water. I drink at least 3.5 liters of water a day. So yeah, I feel like I was hoping that I would actually sit here and give something more practical in terms of tips on what I've done and if that helps. It turned into this whole body dysmorphia emotional ramble, but I hope it spoke to someone. Let us know if you've set any clean eating, balanced lifestyle goals for yourself this year, what you're using to help yourself get there and all that kind of good stuff. I've rambled for far too long. I'm exhausted, so I'm gonna go. But before I leave you, let me do some points of positivity. So the first is being able to talk about this and feeling good and uplifted at the end of it. That's a really huge blessing. The second is I am excited to read the comments on this video, and that is making me preemptively happy. Anytime we get to have these chats, you guys always surprise me by the kind of love and support for each other as well as for me that you put out there, so that makes me super happy. And then my third point of positivity is a nice little chill evening I have ahead. It's only 6 o'clock, you guys, and so I've got a couple hours ahead to just chill and enjoy my evening, and I'm excited for that. So that is it for me today. Thank you guys for hanging out. I will talk to you guys soon, but before I leave you, as always, let me remind you that life is just way too short to wear boring lipstick. Bye, guys.